There's something hauntingly beautiful about a woman who walks through life on her own terms, who sits in silence, unbothered by the world's expectations. Society often whispers that a woman's life is incomplete without a man, but Carl Jung, one of the greatest minds in psychology, believed differently. Jung didn't see these women as broken or lost. He saw them as evolving. He believed that solitude isn't emptiness, it's transformation. A woman living alone is not isolated. She's in deep communion with herself. Let's be honest, we live in a world that constantly pushes the idea that being coupled is the ultimate success. That romance is the only path to fulfillment. But here's the truth that no one wants to talk about. Some women don't crave validation in the arms of another. They are finding it in books, in long walks, in conversations with their own soul. These women aren't afraid of silence. They thrive in it. They aren't waiting for someone to make life magical. They're creating that magic every single day, alone. Carl Jung understood that individuation, the process of becoming whole, often requires separation. Not isolation in a painful sense, but a deliberate step back from the noise to hear one's true voice. Women who live alone are often in that exact stage. They're not just physically alone, they're emotionally evolving. They are peeling back the layers of childhood conditioning, unlearning the belief that they need to be completed by someone else, shedding roles that never truly fit them. They are not lonely, they are brave. And let me tell you something that might shock many people. These women are powerful beyond words. They wake up without needing someone to tell them they're beautiful. They cook dinner for one and light a candle, not for romance, but for sacredness. They read, they write, they create, not to impress, but to feel alive. They cry alone when it gets heavy, but they rise stronger each time. You might pass them on the street and think they're ordinary, but behind their calm smile is a world most people never get to see. Carl Jung said, "Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakens." These women are awakening every single day. They've stopped chasing and started becoming. They've traded noise for peace, expectations for authenticity, chaos for clarity. It's not that they've given up on love. Number. They just refuse to settle for anything that disturbs the sanctuary they've built within themselves. This isn't a phase. It's a revolution, a quiet one, a sacred one. And do you know what makes them unstoppable? They're no longer afraid of being misunderstood. They've accepted that not everyone will get it, that people will assume they're too picky, too proud, too damaged. But they know better. They've looked into the mirror during their darkest nights and said, "I'm enough." They've redefined what success means. They don't measure their worth by wedding rings, social media posts, or date nights. They measure it by the depth of their peace, the sound of their laughter when no one is watching, and the freedom they feel in their soul. Cognit Haven invites you to really think about this. What if these women aren't missing out on life? What if they're finally living it? When a woman decides to live alone without a man, society immediately assumes something went wrong. They think she must have been broken, abandoned, or left behind. But what most people fail to realize is that many women didn't choose solitude because they were unloved. They chose it because they finally loved themselves enough to stop settling. There's a quiet kind of power in a woman who no longer seeks validation. She wakes up every morning knowing her life is her own. No compromises, no apologies, no performing for approval. Carl Jung believed that the greatest danger for a woman is to lose herself trying to please others. And that's exactly what many women break away from when they begin walking this solo path. These women are not lonely. They are alone. And there's a massive difference. Loneliness comes from being disconnected from others, but solitude, chosen solitude, is a connection to oneself. It's an intimate dance with your own mind, heart, and soul. She begins to understand her thoughts, her emotions, her desires. She's no longer trying to fit into a box someone else built for her. She stops living a life of shoulds. I should be married by now. I should have kids. I should be someone's wife. number. She replaces should with want. I want peace. I want truth. I want freedom. And when a woman begins to live on her own terms, she becomes a mystery to those who are still chained by expectations. People whisper behind her back, wondering what went wrong. But in truth, everything finally went right. Because Carl Jung taught us that individuation, the process of becoming your true self, requires courage. And these women have it, in abundance. They face themselves daily. They sit with their shadows. They confront old wounds. They heal. Quietly. Fiercely. On their own. And do you know what happens when a woman heals on her own? She becomes untouchable, not because she's cold, not because she's arrogant, but because she's rooted in something deeper than approval. She no longer fears rejection because she's no longer playing a role. The masks fall off, the real woman emerges, and the real woman is powerful. She is not waiting for someone to complete her. She is not looking for rescue. She is her own home, her own safe place, her own anchor. And if love comes along, it will be a choice, not a necessity. It will be a shared journey, not an escape, because she's not running from anything anymore. This kind of emotional strength shakes the world. It makes people uncomfortable. They don't know how to categorize her. She doesn't need attention to feel worthy. She doesn't need a man to define her. And that threatens those who still believe a woman's worth is tied to her relationship status. But at Cognit Haven, we celebrate this woman. We see her not as a rebel, but as a leader. Not as a loner, but as a light. Her story is not a tragedy. It's a triumph. And if you've ever felt this pull inside you, this craving for peace over performance, then you're not alone. You're waking up, just like she did, and you owe it to yourself to keep watching. Because in the next part of this video, we'll dive even deeper into the sacrifices she makes, the judgments she faces, and the incredible transformation that comes when a woman dares to live by her own design. Don't go anywhere. The truth you're about to hear might change everything. There comes a time when a woman grows tired of explaining her choices. She no longer feels the need to justify why she prefers her own company over someone who drains her. Why she would rather read a book in silence than engage in shallow conversation. Why she walks alone, not because no one asked her to stay, but because she asked herself to leave. And so she stops talking. She stops performing. She stops playing the game. Her silence is not emptiness. It's full of meaning. Because silence for a woman who has been misunderstood her whole life is power. It's a declaration that she no longer owes anyone, an explanation for her joy, her grief, or her independence. And this is when the world begins to panic. Society doesn't know what to do with a woman who has stopped seeking permission, when she doesn't shrink herself to make others feel comfortable, when she doesn't smile out of politeness or dim her light to protect fragile egos. She becomes unpredictable, wild in the most sacred way. And that, to those who rely on control, is terrifying. But to her, it's freedom. Carl Jung believed that every person must go through an inner journey to truly become themselves. For women, that journey is often filled with sacrifice, not just of time or energy, but of dreams, identity, and self-respect. Many give everything away just to be accepted, but some, very few, wake up one day and say, "No more." And in that moment, something shifts. She stops looking in the mirror for approval and starts seeing herself clearly, for the first time in years. She realizes she's not difficult. She's deep. She's not cold. She's careful. She's not bitter. She's wise. And all the labels that once made her feel too much were placed by people who were never capable of understanding her soul. She doesn't need them to understand anymore, because she finally understands herself. She becomes deeply selective, not out of arrogance, but because her peace is now non-negotiable. She's learned that not everyone deserves access to her heart, her time, or her energy. She's seen what it costs to let the wrong people stay too long, So now she moves with intention. She doesn't chase love. She doesn't beg to be seen. She doesn't water herself down to be digestible. If someone wants to know her, they'll have to meet her where she is, not pull her back to where she used to be. And do you know the most beautiful part? She doesn't need to announce this change. You'll feel it in her presence. You'll see it in her eyes. You'll hear it in her silence. Because when a woman chooses herself, not in anger, but in grace, everything about her changes. Her walk becomes steadier. Her voice becomes softer but more certain. Her energy no longer clings. It radiates. And without saying a word, she teaches the world a lesson. You don't have to be loud to be powerful. You don't have to be perfect to be worthy. You don't have to be loved by everyone to love yourself deeply. She's not bitter. She's healed. And healing is not loud. It's not a performance. It's not always visible. Sometimes healing is quietly crying in the shower, then walking out with your head held high. Sometimes it's saying no to someone you once loved because you love yourself more now. Sometimes healing is as simple as sleeping peacefully, because you're no longer carrying the weight of being misunderstood. At Cognit Haven, we believe this kind of woman is the future. Not because she's extraordinary, but because she's honest. With herself, with the world, with the truth that she doesn't have to be chosen to feel complete. She already is. So if you're watching this and feel something rising inside you, a quiet knowing, a deep ache, or a sudden sense of recognition, don't ignore it. That's your soul calling you home. Back to you. Back to truth. Back to freedom. This video wasn't just for you. It was about you. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, someone who's been trying to hold it all together while quietly breaking inside, send this to her. Remind her that she's not weak for walking away. She's strong for walking toward herself. Because the most powerful woman isn't the one who needs to be seen. She's the one who sees herself and chooses to stay. If this message touched you, consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment below. We're building something beautiful here at Cognit Haven, and you're a part of it.